During the early period of the Cold War, the CIA became convinced that the Soviet Union had discovered a drug that would allow them to control human minds. In response, the CIA began its own secret program, called MK-Ultra, to search for a mind control drug that could be weaponized against enemies. The Mind Control Project was a continuation of work that began in Japanese and Nazi concentration camps. Not only was it roughly based on those experiments, but the CIA actually hired the medical teams who had worked in Japanese and German concentration camps to come and explain what they had found out so that the USA could build on their research. MK-Ultra, which operated from the 1950s until the early 1960s, was created and run by a chemist named Sidney Gottlieb. Journalist Stephen Kinzer, who spent several years investigating the program, calls the operation the most sustained search in history for techniques of mind control. As part of the search for drugs that would allow people to control the human mind, government scientists became aware of the existence of LSD. In the early 1950s, Sidney arranged for the CIA to pay $240,000 to buy the world's entire supply of LSD. He brought this to the United States, and he began sending it around to hospitals, clinics, prisons, and other institutions. Doctors were instructed to carry out research projects and find out what LSD was. Richard Helms, the CIA director, allowed Sidney to work without supervision. He was allowed to use human subjects across the United States and around the world and subject them to any kind of abuse that he wanted, even up to the level of it being fatal. Sidney's career ended in 1973 when Richard Helms, who was then director of the CIA, was removed by President Richard Nixon. Once Helms was removed, Sidney knew he would be gone and people would find out what he had been doing. Both men agreed that they should destroy all records of MK-Ultra. Sidney drove out to the CIA Records Center and ordered the archives to destroy boxes full of MK-Ultra papers. However, some records were stored in other places, and documents remained. But the full extent of the work was destroyed, including records on the number of test subjects, type of tests, experiments, and deaths. Sidney appears to be no different than the Japanese and Nazi doctors who conducted different experiments on people. Most likely, Sidney feared that he could face the same fate as doctors during the Nuremberg doctor trial if anyone found out the true extent of his work. Upon his official retirement, Sidney stated that he did not believe his work had been effective. On October 7, 1975, while testifying, Sidney admitted he had destroyed all records of what he did during his time at the agency. He was never convicted of any crimes.